Self-centred UK couple criticised over foreign surrogacy, which left siblings stateless. Let's jump right in and learn more. So, today we are going to be looking at an article which even raised my eyebrows, and it's a topic that I love talking about, love educating you about, but this is a piece of news that has recently been published, and it's about a judge that warned would-be parents against getting into commercial foreign surrogacy, and there's so many intersections here that I've got to break down that just bear with me. Let's have a look. So, the article was published on the 20th of February 2025, and this article relates to a same-sex female couple exploring surrogacy. Now, those of you that are new to surrogacy, that might not seem unusual, but generally 99% of cases that we see at My Surrogacy Journey when working with the LGBTQ plus community are same-sex male people or couples. This is a couple that are, as you read the article, are in their 60s. So let's assume they're 60 years old. Already, for me, that's alarming. We have a very strict criteria at My Surrogacy Journey when it comes to the age of intended parents or parents, whether it's a combined aged or if it's a single person, then obviously we have an age limit there too. And this really just has one primary cause, and that's always to protect the welfare of the child, to ensure that any child born through surrogacy will have their parent or parents still in their life by the time they are obviously at least 18 years old. Can't always guarantee that, obviously, but we should be having some baseline criteria and compliance when it comes to protecting the welfare of that child. That was clearly lacking in this case. So, I'm going to read. Would-be parents seeking out commercial foreign surrogacies are being warned the government may fight their bids for adoption, rendering the infants both permanently stateless and legally parentless. Let's also look at something else here. The article says, a High Court case revealed a self-centred older UK couple, their identities concealed by the court, whose unlawful arrangement with a clinic in Cyprus saw two siblings born to Ukrainian women. Surprise, surprise. The children were left in limbo for 4 years before the judge granted adoption as their only option. Oh my God, there's so many things I need to unpack now. We have gone on record multiple times about surrogacy in Cyprus, and it's not made us very popular. Why it's not made us very popular? Well, surrogacy in Cyprus is really popular for British intended parents. So we've attacked that particular pathway, and we've attacked it because I wouldn't have an issue with it if there was full transparency there that those people operating in Cyprus were working with or had surrogates that had chosen to work with that organisation that were Cypriot or that lived in Cyprus. Quite often we see surrogates working in Cyprus that are Ukrainian, that are Romanian, Albanian, Turkmenistan we're even seeing at the minute. They're not Cypriot. And you might think, why does that matter? Well, it matters for me on two counts. That is a travelling surrogate. Call it travelling. I still use the word trafficked surrogate because I still feel really passionate about that there is potentially a vulnerability there. And we've said that. It's not made us very popular. The second thing is, remember when I started this article, I mentioned that this was a same-sex female couple. You add that layer of risk into a surrogacy journey. When your surrogate is from an anti-LGBTQ state and country, then that is super dangerous, super careless, and just irresponsible of all parties involved in putting this surrogacy journey together. Having a member of the LGBTQ community entering into surrogacy when your surrogate is from Ukraine, for example, is disastrous on so many levels. That surrogate could give birth early in Ukraine. And if that surrogate, or surrogates in this case, gave birth early, getting those children out of Ukraine when the parents are in a same-sex relationship is just a disaster. Now, it looks like these children were born in Cyprus, so let's just carry on. An application for a parental order following a conventional surrogacy may only be made if the gametes of the applicant were used to bring about the creation of the embryo. Another layer here. But in this case, the women in their 60s has used donors for the eggs and the sperm. So we call this double donation. And it's no wonder that these parents needed to use double donation, because I'm assuming that they probably met post-menopause or post something like an illness or a disease that meant they were infertile, potentially. I am speculating. But in this case, this isn't surrogacy for all intents and purposes when you return to the UK. It doesn't qualify for a parental order because there has to be a genetic link, and double donation, eggs and sperm, there isn't a genetic link. So this then becomes an adoption order. And adoption orders can be really complicated. They can certainly be costly. Furthermore, the order can't be made if the surrogate has been paid or other than expenses reasonably incurred, but the fee paid for the arrangement was around £120,000. Wow. Lawyers acting for the Home Office warned the government may oppose on policy grounds future attempts to adopt children born through overseas commercial surrogacy arrangements before being brought to the UK. This is a can of worms. The article goes on to say, put bluntly, anyone seeking to achieve the introduction of a child into their family by following in the footsteps of these applicants should think again. And that was Mr. Justice McFarlane. Let's just go back to what I said at the start. Welfare of children born through surrogacy is really important. It's why we, as an organisation, are transparent and passionate and accountable for ensuring that intended parents meet a criteria. We only work in destinations where we have a legal entity, so we're accountable. We only work in destinations where we do extensive social and economic assessments on surrogates to ensure they're not in poverty. And importantly, that they live in the country where the journey is taking place in. And in Mexico, for example, they live in the same state of where the birth will be. That's even more important and just an additional layer of protection that we put in. But when you are looking at something like double donation, it's really important that you add all of these facets and compliance to look at things like the age of the intended parents. Because double donation tends to be scrutinised through the courts anyway. So then to add an additional layer of parents, two parents already in their 60s, you know that this isn't going to go down well. And this could take years to put through the courts. It is the latest case of a judge criticising aspiring parents who have become embroiled in clandestine and costly ordeals, particularly involving countries that ban arrangements with same-sex couples. And this is the point I mentioned at the start. The surrogate is in Ukraine, or surrogates in this case were in Ukraine. So it was only after the arrangements had been significantly advanced that they came to realise the clinic was in fact operating in the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, where surrogacy is unlawful and where the placement of children with same-sex couples is also not permitted. So not only was the surrogate based in Ukraine, but Northern Cyprus is under Turkish Republic. It's just a whole cluster and catalogue of areas. But if you've done your due diligence right in the first place, or the agency that was working with the intended parents was honest and transparent in the first place, you wouldn't be putting these children and these parents at risk and at danger of not being repatriated with their children or their children being stateless. It's just really irresponsible. This is so disappointing to read. someone who is really passionate about setting the standard with surrogacy and making sure that everyone is protected. This story just infuriates me. The women refused to take part in a false story that one of them was the natural mother of the children, biological mother, I think they're referring to, who were neither afforded Ukrainian nor Northern Cypriot nationality, resulting, among other factors, in the children being denied entry with the women into the UK until the High Court allowed them under the European Convention on Human Rights. See, there we go. And of course they refused to lie to government officials because they shouldn't have to ever do that. So the fact that they were encouraged to do that, just red flags all over the place. You can watch a previous podcast episode where we look at agency red flags and where we look at travelling surrogates. Just check our podcast, wherever you get your podcast, or check these links to listen to that particular episode. Finally, Mr. Justice McFarland also made reference to the age of these two women, who will be in their 70s and 80s when the children are in their teens. It's just irresponsible on all grounds. Okay, in summary, what do I think? Number one, it's really important that your agency that you're working with is really transparent. Number two, does the agency have an intended parent age criteria? That's really important. If you are doing double donation, make sure you're doing it in a country, if you are in a same-sex union, civil partnered or married, then make sure that you are fully aware where the surrogate is, where the child is being born, and just make sure if you are doing double donation, that isn't going to be a parental order application. You are going to be doing an adoption order. It's also really clear and disappointing to read that these two women were asked to lie to government officials about the nationality of them and whether they were genetically linked to these children or not. That's another red flag. Anyone asking you to put yourself and your family in that position, just run. So if you want to stay updated with more news and information like this, firstly go and check out our podcast. It's episode 5. Wes is hosting it, and we talk all about these red flags and surrogates travelling. If you're impacted by this particular story or this sounds familiar to you and you're concerned, reach out to us. Go to mysurrogacyjourney.com. There you'll be able to contact us, and if you want to talk to us confidentially, reach out and we can see what we can do and who we can connect you to. Regardless of whether you're a member of MSJ or not, we need to try and ensure you're getting the right advice and support. So like, subscribe and click that notification bell to stay updated on more topics and subjects like this. And remember, comment below, keep it kind, and I'll see you again soon. All right, take care. Bye.